This episode of Steve's Outdoor Adventures is sponsored by Pendleton Ammunition. Hunting ammunition for your rifle, hand-loaded, one round at a time.
This week, Travis Price is headed out to Wyoming to hunt with a longtime friend of mine and experience a new hunting area. This is a place that he hasn't been before, and Travis is a die-hard, hardcore backcountry horseback hunter, and this hunt is right up his alley. He's drawn a great mule deer tag to hunt in some of the most scenic and wide open spaces in the entire state of Wyoming. It's a hunt that I know that he's going to enjoy, and I hope that all of you will enjoy it as well. Let's head out to Wyoming and join Travis Price in his quest for a trophy mule deer buck.
It's almost 7 a.m. early in the morning. Have the truck all loaded up. Have about a 12-hour drive to western Wyoming, where I'm headed to hunt mule deer off horseback. On my way to this hunt from eastern Oregon, I drove through Yellowstone National Park on my way to Cody. Awesome, thank you so much. You too. This area of Wyoming is definitely known to have an abundance of wild game. And as soon as I arrived, I started seeing that for myself, which included buffalo, elk, mule deer, and even bears. And I couldn't wait to get to camp to start experiencing this hunt for myself. Once I arrived in Cody, I ended up getting a hotel room to stay overnight. The next morning, got loaded back up into the truck again and then headed to the gun range. I always want to make sure I take the time to verify zero before I get to camp so that everything's good to go when I start the hunt.
For this week's hunt, selection of rifle was going to be incredibly important. Travis is headed into a rugged backcountry area where he's going to be hunting off horseback. He's going to need a gun that can fit in a scabbard or a special scabbard, and he needs a lightweight rifle so that if he has to do a mountain climb, he can put it on his pack and go. We didn't want to have a big Texas Hill Country gun. We wanted to have the right caliber, the right scope, everything. What we landed on was a gun package that we've been using a lot lately, and that is the Bergara Premier Series MG Light Rifle. It's chambered in 300 Winchester Magnum. We topped it with the Burris 4-20 Veracity PH scope. That's the clickless digital turret scope, and this is a great all-around hunting size rifle and scope combination because it will fit inside of a scabbard like the Trail Max scabbard in front of me. It's got the pistol grip on the magnesium chassis stock, so that does require a little bit deeper pocket on, let's say, your scabbard, but that's where the Trail Max comes in handy. And with the Cure Carbon barrel, it's an incredibly lightweight gun. It's extremely accurate, and we chambered it in 300 Winchester Magnum, shooting 180 grain Barnes tip triple shock bullets. This is an all-around awesome caliber and bullet selection for about anything in North America, but for hunting big, wide open backcountry areas for mule deer, it was ideal. And I felt like this was gonna be the best option for Travis to take with him on this hunt. Additionally, we set the rifle up with the new Adventure Hunter suppressor. This is a 30 caliber suppressor that is a direct thread to the rifle. We can screw the muzzle brake off. It takes just a few seconds to spin it off. It's 5/8 24 thread, same as the suppressor. So once this comes off, that suppressor direct threads on, and within maybe 2 minutes at most, Travis is in business. He's got a suppressed rifle, he's ready to hunt, and he can be in action. Now, if something happens quickly where he doesn't have time to deal with that, well, the point of impact shift between the muzzle brake and the suppressor is about this much. So 0 to 200 yards, it's not a big deal. He's gonna be able to get a gun in his hands and go to work in a very limited amount of time. And that made this the ultimate rifle, scope, ammo, and suppressor package for Travis to take with him to Wyoming.
Good to go. I packed up and left the gun range and started driving to camp. I drove over this beautiful pass, windy road down into the bottom of the valley where we went over this beautiful bridge that overlooked a canyon of a beautiful river and drove up to where the lodging scenario is. Here we are, just making it into camp. What breathtaking scenery this is. Awesome location for a camp. I grew up hunting off horseback with my dad 30 plus years ago for elk. And as soon as I arrived in camp, all those memories came back to me, looking at the horses, feeding the horses, watch them being saddled, helping with that process. And there's just something about horseback hunts that really hit home to me. And it makes you feel free, you know, from freeing your mind, your body, and your soul while you're out there. And when you feel the wind, you know, the cold, crisp wind, when you're up on the high elevation on horses, just makes you feel like a man. And I just couldn't wait to get started and get back into feeling that way and getting up into the high country.
Steve's Outdoor Adventures is sponsored by Bergara Rifles, featuring the new Pure Carbon barrels and a sub-MOA guarantee. Steve's Outdoor Adventures is sponsored by Burris Optics and the new Burris Veracity PH Rifle Scope.
I just had some breakfast, got all my gear lined out, ready to go. Guides are saddling up the horses, and it's pretty warm and windy, so not ideal conditions, but it's day one, spirits are high. We're gonna get the horses into the trailers and head to the trailhead.
The weather forecast for the first part of Travis's hunt called for warmer than usual temperatures and high winds, which are less than ideal conditions for mule deer hunting.
It was about 50 degrees when we left camp, and here it's 38, 37, so it's definitely got a little brisk to it, which is good. Feels good to be back on a horse. It's been a minute. See if we can find some deer. Prior to the hunt, I had the opportunity to sit down with Game Warden Jordan Winter and really got to understand and become educated on mule deer and some other species in the area.
This region holds a lot of public land, Forest Service land, Bureau of Land Management, and so there's a lot of opportunities for, a hunting of mule deer to occur. The great thing is a lot of our deer are migratory. They're coming out of forest lands down to the private lands that are the wintering areas. Non-resident coming here, there's a lot of opportunities for them. There's plenty of places that they can find good deer that are easily accessible. You can go into some of that backcountry stuff, the better you're gonna have at finding some really awesome deer, elk, whatever it is that you're looking for. Not only it's just harvesting an animal, but it's the experience that you get to participate in and taking care of them because we don't wanna lose them and we wanna be able to enjoy them for future generations.
This is a hunt where the guides will take you via horses up to the high elevation on the tops of the ridges, where the whole name of the game is to try and locate some deer through your binoculars or spotting scopes. And it takes a lot of patience. You're gonna have to grid a large area, look for things like horizontal lines, movement, legs, anything that looks like a deer, and just spend time looking over and over and over. And as soon as you find something you want to tackle, you go after them. We just tied up the horses here. I'm gonna drop down a little bit and glass this bowl for deer. I think John's gonna stay up here and glass this side, so see if I can dig up some critters. I'm sitting right on the wilderness boundary. Back behind me, wilderness. In front of me here, national forest. And although our clients can hunt both sides, my film permit is I can only hunt and film on the national forest, not the wilderness. So it's pretty windy right now, but we're gonna go over this knob and spend the day over here. We continued to ride up the ridge line and tied up the horses, walked a little ways to this spot here. So we're now on the leeward side, which is much more pleasant. The wind's not as strong. And the whole idea is we're gonna glass this big bowl right here, spend most of the day here. You never know what bucks might be, slowly making their way from ridge to ridge, start thinking about migrating out of here. So just time to play the patience game, spend a lot of time behind the glass. The one closest to us is a doe, I think. Take a look at those deer. John says there's 7 down there. One's a buck, maybe 18 inches wide, 4x3. Bit young, but I want to get a better look at him. We've glassed this bowl for a couple hours, had something to eat, dug up a few deer, but no shooter bucks yet. We're gonna go back to the horses, ride this ridge line, go around the knob and kind of head down this way, and then we'll probably pick our way back. We're in like a major migration corridor right here for a lot of animals, from where they summer to where they winter, so. Fair amount of game, just gotta find that buck. There's a big bull elk on the other side of the hill over here. Big frame. Nice to see.
Steve's Outdoor Adventures is sponsored by North Fork Bullets. Accuracy and terminal performance in the ultimate hunting bullet. Steve's Outdoor Adventures is sponsored by the Far Wide app, putting outdoor intelligence in the palm of your hand.
It's about that time. The guides are saddling up the horses, getting everything ready to go. And this morning it's definitely a little bit colder, and in a couple of days' time we have some nasty weather coming in, which is always a good thing when you're hunting mule deer in the high country. And what I was hoping for was some poor weather conditions, whether it be snow, colder temperature, and really that's what gets the deer moving through this area and just moving in general, which would give me a better opportunity at harvesting a deer. We rode up to this pile of rocks here. That's a really cool vantage point we can glass. Got this huge ridge in front of us with open patches and then lots to glass from right here.
We've got a lot of country to cover here, so we're gonna have to kind of keep moving and keep checking through these pockets. Hopefully we'll find something good in there. We'll see what happens.
As the hunt progressed and it was getting later into the hunt, although we'd seen several deer and some good bucks at distance, I just hadn't found that buck that was in range where I could put a stock and put a proper shot on. And I started feeling the anticipation, the pressure build just a little bit. And part of the reason why I did not yet see the buck that I wanted to go after is this is a migration corridor. And although there's deer that live in this area that are resident deer, it goes from good to great if you get some snow and some adverse conditions to have more deer and more game come through there as they head to their wintering range. And based on the weather that we are experiencing, that hasn't happened yet or wasn't gonna happen. And so I was definitely feeling the pressure that it was time to get it done. Like most days, we get up early, saddle the horses, get them in the trailer, we head to the trailhead. And this particular morning, I remember seeing moose before we got started, and the weather was fairly decent, and I knew we were in for a good day. John got everything out of the trailer, out of the truck, got the horses prepared, got all our gear ready, got on the horses, and started heading up the ridge into a new area that we hadn't been yet. And I was excited in anticipation of what we were gonna find that day. And just like the previous day on the hunt, we ride up to the top of the ridge, glass our way along, trying to find deer, trying to find a buck that we want to go after. And on this particular day, we sat in an area where we spent the majority of the day or the afternoon glassing a back basin. And we saw some deer, we saw some rams at distance, but just really nothing of mature age class that we wanted to go after. With about an hour and a half left of daylight, John and I decided that it was time to kind of pack up, get back on the horses, and start hunting our way back down to the start of the trailhead. About halfway down the mountain, John and I decided to get off the horses and do a little bit of glassing before we ran out of daylight. And immediately I spotted a band of rams that kind of crested a hill, and we're gonna go down and crest another hill in front of us. I was glassing this slope down below us here, and I just saw the top of a couple animals back. I said, hey John, take a look at these deer. Well, John puts his binos up and they're not deer, they're 5 rams. So we're gonna kind of work our way down here and see if they cross in front of us or possibly even find some deer, but kind of cool. And seconds later, after we were watching the rams crest the hill and move on, John spots a buck.
This segment is sponsored by Adventure Armory. Rifle, scope, and ammunition packages shipped, ready to shoot. Steve's Outdoor Adventures is sponsored by Pendleton Ammunition and their line of hand-loaded Performance TSS turkey loads. If you would like to book this hunt or any other hunting or fishing adventure, give our office a call. We will gladly take your calls, answer your questions, and help you book the adventure of a lifetime.
We spotted 2 bucks across this canyon about 700 yards. So we're gonna drop down in here and go up the other side, get into these rocks, see if I can get a shot. It's go time.
Travis could have set up and taken the 700-yard shot, but he could see an approach to get a lot closer and decided to close the distance.
Oh man, this hill's brutal. If we can get back past this first rock, get in between the rocks, it's about a 220-yard shot. We're like 125 yards from the first rock. This is steep. Here we go.
As you can see, this is an incredibly rugged area of Wyoming. You can be miles deep into the wilderness in some of the steepest and deepest canyons found anywhere in North America. And that's why we tell all of our clients when they go out to this part of Wyoming to get in peak physical condition. Travis doubled down on his workouts in the months leading up to this hunt in anticipation of what it's going to take for him to be successful when he steps off that horse and heads down a ridge.
Shot at the wrong time. Oh, that's tough. I definitely missed. Just running out of light and shuffling all over the place, trying to get where I could see him and just rush the shot. Just shot right in front of him. That's the way it goes. Moving on. Today's the last day of the season, and it's definitely time to get it done. It's been raining all night, but it seems to have cleared up a little bit. It's not raining right now, so got the horses loaded up. I'm gonna jump in and hit the trailhead. On the ride in that morning, as we're glassing, John spots 6 grizzlies up on a hillside that are on a kill. And it was a reminder to me and everybody else on the hunt that we have to keep our wits to us because there are some dangerous predators in the area. We rode up from the bottom this morning, saw a couple young deer fighting and then 6 grizzlies on a kill. John took us up to this spot here. It's gonna be good. We're just waiting out the snow and the fog to get a good look at this hillside, but hopefully we'll get a crack at something here. Spotted a couple bucks. One's a 4-point for sure, but we're just battling this fog and I want to phone scope him and get a better look at him, but we've got to wait for the fog to clear. We've been here most of the day. Did a lot of glassing in between the fog rolling in and out, made a fire. Saw a couple bucks, but nothing that we could go after at the moment. So we're gonna ride out through this valley and go out the other side and go that way. So hopefully we can run into something on the way out.
With the season coming to an end and darkness closing, snow starts to fall and the winter weather finally arrives a few weeks later than usual. And while Travis had an opportunity to buck, the lack of snow and winter weather kept the majority of the deer up in the high country, inside the wilderness area where we had been denied a U.S. Forest Service film permit to operate the cameras, even though the outfitter has a permit to guide there. Travis was relegated to hunting in the non-wilderness area, which is heavily dependent on high country snows pushing the deer into their migratory path. Snows that didn't come until after the season had closed. On a positive note, a couple of our Steve's Outdoor Adventures clients who were also in camp were successful on their hunts inside the wilderness area. And it is likely that Travis would have had several more encounters with mature bucks had he been able to hunt inside that wilderness boundary.
Well, Travis Price almost filled that deer tag, but as you can see, this is a hunt that transcends just merely filling a tag or killing a deer. It was a backcountry horseback hunting adventure. Travis got to see some country he had never seen before. They saw bighorn sheep, Shiras moose, grizzly bears, mule deer, and elk. They got to see all of the wildlife that inhabits this backcountry area of Wyoming, and they got to hunt in some of the most spectacular landscapes found anywhere in North America. And for any of you out there who have ever dreamed of going on a backcountry hunting like this, give our office a call. The deer tags are relatively easy to draw, but the hunts are limited in number. And if you've been banking points for elk, moose, or sheep, talk to us. We can tell you how long it's going to take to draw a tag and set your expectations and then help you book that hunting adventure of a lifetime. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this week's show, but please remember to join us again next week when we bring you another exciting episode of Steve's Outdoor Adventures. If you enjoyed this episode, please click like and subscribe to see more of Steve's Outdoor Adventures right here on YouTube.